Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we look to the iconic Ornithopter. As defined in the appendix in the original Dune novel, the Ornithopter, commonly known as the Thopter, is any aircraft capable of sustained wing-beat flight in the manner of birds. According to the Dune Encyclopaedia, the first Thopters were built by scientists. These scientists had few resources and were told that for them to keep living, they must invent something to please their master, and the money from those inventions would profit the emperor, who was the one holding them. Through their own ideas and scientific archives, they wanted to make money that would fund their continued survival. Of those ideas, one of the ones discovered was the heart scallop, which is an important part of an ornithopter. We'll come on to that more in a second. This sparked the idea on combining the versatility of a bird with an artificial craft, and they did the first test flight in 7580 BG. The heart scallop plays the role in the Thopter that when it has a fixed wing flight, and when the power is turned off, the scallop is ready to come back on for when the wings will once again be fluttering and need the extra power to get it going. A failsafe, the other part of the scallop, helps when the Thopter needs to brake rapidly or take off in a restricted space. An ornithopter is highly versatile, and though they usually fly within atmosphere, they can also move in orbit for a short time, and they will carry weapons when deployed under the military. These would be things such as lasguns and missiles possibly, and they would also have shields around them, except in places like Arrakis where that would be a danger. There are many different types, with the changes made according to their needs. This can be from carrying cargo to troops, aerial searchers to a gun Thopter. As I said, each of them would make certain small changes to the Thopter so that it would meet the needs of those that were using it. The major repair and maintenance problems associated with ornithopters are the wing gears and joints, which are complicated ball and socket connections, and structural problems arising from the switchover from bird-like flight, which requires flexible wings for optimum performance, to fixed wing flight, which requires rigid structures. There was a resistance to the Thopter initially amongst Imperial pilots, as it would be very different to flying a fixed wing craft. They would only be used at that time as sports or commuter vehicles, but over time they became the favoured mode of transport, and the Butlerian Jihad, with its prescription of complicated machinery, advanced the simple effective ornithopter to almost sole possession of planetary skies. Now we look to quotes from Dune as Paul takes off and flies an ornithopter during a Coriolis storm, and we're trying to understand how it's flown basically. First, its distinct sound. An unmarked ornithopter squatted nearby, humming softly on standby, like a somnolent insect. For the controls we get a little from Paul, who released his mother's hand, crossed to the ornithopter's left door, opened it, and secured his pack in the rear. This ship's proximity masked, he said. Instrument panel has remote door control, light control. 80 years under the Harkonnens taught them to be thorough. When you get in, you wear a safety harness. Both passengers can wear this, then the pre-flight check. The wings were at full spread rest, their delicate metal interleavings extended. He touched the retractor bar, watching the wings shorten for jet boost takeoff. The way Gurney Halleck had taught him. The starter switch moved easily. Dials on the instrument panel came alive as the jet pods were armed. Turbines began their slow hissing. He touched the remote control for lights and closed the door remotely. Then Paul depressed the glowing action sequence switch on his panel. The wings snapped back and down, hurling the Thopter out of its nest. Power surged from the jet pods as the wings locked into lift altitude. Then Paul's hands danced over the controls. Wings snicked in the beetle stubs. Force pulled at their flesh as the craft came around in a tight bank. So for anything that might pull on the craft, Paul seems to pull the wings in to shorter for them, and they go out wide for manoeuvres in the air and to fly the ship in a controlled way near the ground. Then one final quote. Paul focused on the glowing globe within the altitude curve and 40 his craft back to level flight. So you can see that there are quite a lot of comparable controls, I would imagine, at least to ours. And that, friends, is where I will end today's video. Got a comment to make? Let me know what you think.